Hello everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. So in this video, we are basically going to do a complete technical and a little bit of fundamental analysis of the complete banking sector. So we'll be starting off with HDFC Bank. Basically, it is attempting to break the all-time high levels. Pretty much after the 2019 top, that 2020 2019 top, before COVID, HDFC Bank has basically not given any returns. So it was at around 1300 levels, and this level was tested many times. In the month of March of 2022, it had come back to the same top of 2019 2020 February. Again, it made sort of a double triple bottom and gave another bounce. So somewhere over here, the news of the merger of HDFC and HDFC Bank had come in the month of April of 2022, and the streets did not like it so much. So there was this kind of a fake breakout, and where all the distribution from all the big players was done, and this was back again at 1300 levels in no time. And it tried breaking this level once again in May of 2023, again in June of 2023, and once again in December of 2023, but it had failed all the time. So it was never able to actually decisively close above this 1711 or so levels. But now recently, because of after the earnings, this had basically gap down. So there is this huge gap over here. Again, the next day, this was the same time where the ADR of HDFC Bank was also negative for quite a few days. And now recently, if you notice, this gap has completely been filled back up. So this is gap is actually filled over here. So this gap is filled as well, and this was filled actually with a really good a good closing. So this was a proper green candle, and over here as well. So this was basically the top of 3rd June. This was after the exit poll results. So there was huge euphoria in this market, and HDFC Bank was actually the first bank which actually broke the top of 3rd June. So after the 3rd June, the next day, the very next day, the Indian market had fallen quite a lot because of the not satisfactory results from BJP government, and so it had fallen quite a bit. But immediately the very next day, HDFC Bank came back up again, and it actually broke this high quite decisively, and now it is attempting to break all time highs once again, HDFC Bank. So quickly, let's have a look at what SBI, what is the chart of SBI saying to us. So quickly, I'm going to open the chart of State Bank of India. So one major difference between the chart of HDFC Bank and SBI is, so this is the same top of 3rd June, which I marked over here. This was after, just after the exit poll results, where the exit polls were telling us that BJP is going to come in majority, or it is going to win over 400 seats, but nothing of that sort happened. And the very next day, SBI was, I think, around down 10 to 15%. So yeah, it was down around 13.39%, and intraday, I mean, it was down quite a bit. But yeah, State Bank of India was not actually able to give a closing about this 3rd June stop, and you can see the next day the volumes were also quite high. So probably a lot of people have exited, SBI. But surprisingly, if you have a look, HDFC Bank has actually broken 3rd June stop quite decisively. It has clearly broken it, and now it is attempting to break all-time highs. Similarly, we can see something similar strength can be observed in Axis Bank, yeah, Axis Bank as well. So this was the high of 3rd June, and the same thing happened the very next day. Just what happened in SBI or HDFC Bank, it fell. But as you can see, this has also broken the 3rd June stop, and It has also given an all-time high, highest ever closing ever. So this is the highest ever level Axis Bank has ever reached. And same is the case with ICICI Bank as well. So ICICI Bank also broke 3rd June high, and this has also given the highest ever closing ever. So there's something can be observed over here, and also just to show you some other companies again from the public sector. So we can have a Union Bank. We can have a look at the chart of Union Bank, Union Bank of India. Again, the same thing. This was never able to break the 3rd June top. So basically, this showcases that there was some sort of distribution done over here, where people are not interested in this stock as much as they were, because PSU had actually come out of a huge rally. So all the all the PSU stocks are were in a high uptrend, because of the government, or the complete PSU sector roaring. But even Union Bank is not able to close above the high of 3rd June, sorry, and it is well below. I mean, Union Bank is the, I think, highest ever. It is the bank which has the highest fall from the 3rd June top, and it is over here near its support levels. I'm not sure this stock has does not look strong at all as compared to the private sector banks. Let's have a look at Canara Bank also. So again, similar stuff from Canara Bank as well. This is basically the trend observed in all the PSU banks, and this also has not enough strength, to outperform the private sector banks. It feels like. So HDFC broke away from 3rd June stop. Same case with Axis Bank, same case with ICICI Bank, but that is not the case with PSU banks. So having a look at the PSU Bank Index as a whole, so this was the top of the 3rd June. Again, this huge red candle. The very next day, it tried to recover, but it is not so strong as the private sector banks. The public sector banks are not as strong as the private sector banks. So, from the bottom of 2022, the whole PSU Bank Index basically gave a huge run. So, from the COVID lows, it is up almost 582%, which is crazy, because public sector banks were never given such sort of valuation ever before. So, and there was actually also a reason, because the fundamentals had improved quite a lot. So, if you have a look at Union Bank of India, the fundamentals had improved quite a lot. So if you see the profit growth, it was never giving such good profits. So in March of 2022, 5,000 cr, 8,500 cr, and then in the March 2024, almost 14,000 crores. And if we have a look at the gross NP and the net NPS, they are continuously reducing. So I mean, having a net NP of just 1% for a PSU bank is really great. So that is the reason for this strong uptrend from almost 70 rupees in the last 1 year to around 140 rupees as of now, and the peak was around 170 rupees. And the same is the case with SBI, State Bank of India, as well. So again, similar. Let's have a so again, you can see the net NPSR of 0.57%. So this is really really good for especially public sector bank, where they give a lot of bad debts and bad loans to big corporates. All the fraud cases were seen. So this is the case. Quickly, let's have a look now at the chart of the private sector banks. So I'm just going to duplicate it and show you the chart of private sector banks. So let's have a look at the Nifty Private Bank. So this, this has also given returns, but these returns are of no sort as compared to the ones from the public sector bank. And this rally has mostly been led by ICICI Bank. So ICICI Bank is in clear uptrend. It was clearly outperforming the likes of HDFC Bank and Kotak Bank, and again a little bit outperformance shown by Axis Bank as well. So Axis Bank is also outperforming HDFC. But a thing to notice over here is, if we divide the CNX PSU index with the Nifty Private Bank. So let's have a look, Nifty Private Bank index. So I'm going to put this in. Let me put this in monthly. So if you see, huge, outperformance, outperformance was shown by the Nifty Private Bank. So this downtrend basically shows that private banks have completely outperformed the PSU banks for a long time. But recently, from the lows of COVID, the public sector banks have actually outperformed the private sector banks by a huge margin. So basically, the division shows that over here, the private banks were not that strong. The PSU banks, basically the numerator is stronger. Hence, this chart is going upwards, and this complete part from 2006 till 2020 bottom, the denominator is strong. That means the private banks are strong. Hence, this chart is falling. So this shows that private sector banks have almost always outperformed public sector banks. But recently, since the last 3 4 years, the public sector banks, basically all the PSU banks, be it SBI, Union Bank, Canara Bank, Bank of Baroda, these were actually outperforming the likes SBI. This was actually outperforming the likes of HDFC Bank and even ICICI Bank and Axis Bank, which were leaders from the private sector banks. So let's have a quick comparison between. So I'm going to delete this. So I'm going to put Nifty Private Bank over here. So we are going to put, let's just put a daily chart over here, and in comparison, I'm going to put PSU banks. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's have a look what is the case in the last 1 year. So you can see clearly in the last 1 year, CNX PSU banks have given 85% return, whereas the Nifty Private Bank as a whole index have only given 17% return. So clear, huge outperformance in the 1 year frame by the PSU banks. So let's have a look at the last 5 years. So last 5 years, over here there was a divergence, after which huge run up and outperformance by the private sector, public sector banks. But now, if you can recently look in the 1 day time frame, Nifty Private Banks have given are beating public sector banks. So basically, private banks have given today as of June 25th. So private banks were up by 1.74%. In the last 5 days, again, outperformance by the Nifty Private Banks. In the last 1 month, so basically over here, somewhere over here. So this was the June third high, basically the election euphoria that was there. So clearly, the PSU banks have not broken this. But on the other hand, the private sector banks have actually broken this and are making fresh new all-time highs daily. And in the 3 months time frame, you can actually observe over here. So basically, the outperformance by the public sector banks is actually reducing. The private sector banks were catching up, and recently there is a divergence again, like we had seen in the case of public sector banks earlier. Now, private sector banks in the 3 month time frame are actually outperforming the public sector banks. So basically, what I feel, going forward, private banks are actually going to perform much more better than the public sector banks. The reason being, I think all the growth and all the premium that was given due to the elections or due to the Modi government or whatever, and due to the extreme reduction in the net NPAs and the gross NPAs have actually been priced in now. So there is not so much growth left over here. But if we on the other hand, if we have a look at the private sector banks, so this is the screen of the HDFC Bank. Over here, the compounded profit growth for the last 5 years is 23% CAGR, last 3 years is 26% CAGR. But if you have a look at the stock price has not moved according to the compounded profit growth. So this shows a slight undervaluation over here. Same is going to be the case with ICICI Bank as well. So ICICI Bank in the last 5 years gave a compounded profit growth of 60%, but the stock price has only moved by 20%. Last 3 years profit growth is 34%, but the price has only moved by 23%. And a thing to observe is Axis Bank is actually doing really well in the last 2 years or so. So in the last 3 years, it has given a compounded profit growth of 54%, and the trailing 12 months profit growth is of 144%. This is obviously because of some adjustments made in the expenses side, and something might have been written off, and also the tax percentage. Hence, this is much lower than March 2022. So again, but still from March 22 as well, this is almost double profits in 2 years. So looks like the private bank index is actually going to outperform the public sector bank index for quite some while now. And also trying to find out which bank is actually a leader from the private sector banks as well. So one thing to observe over here is HDFC Bank is not the leader as of now. We'll have to actually wait and observe it, if this actually gives a closing above 1730 levels, if it actually sustains and gives a breakout. So this is a huge base that is actually formed in case of HDFC Bank. So almost from, I believe this is let's consider this from October 2021. That's almost going to be over around in and around 3 years of time. This base is 3 years huge, and taking all this overhead supply is going to be difficult, so it has to consolidate over here. So maybe there will be a slight rejection, it will go down again to 1600 levels, and then attempt to break out a few more times and eventually break out and give a really good move. But something to bring into notice over here is in case of Axis Bank. So what had happened is, due to the really good earnings, there is a gap which is present over here in the case of Axis Bank. And surprisingly, after the 3rd June euphoria move and the 4th June fall, this gap was actually protected. So this gap is actually not broken. This gap is not filled. So the price actually never came to test this level. And I'm going to do a basic relative strength comparison between Axis Bank and ICICI Bank. So this is 30th April 2024. So this there was a top, sort of a top over here. So this is 30th April, we can see over here. And this is the chart of ICICI Bank. So I'm going to remove all the drawings, hide this as well, and reset the chart view. So again, which date was this? 30th April. So somewhere around, let's check, 25 and 30th April, right over here. So on 30th April, there was a top made in ICICI Bank, and there was sort of a top made in Axis Bank as well. So I'm going to use this brush. So over here you can see there is a top, and in case of ICICI Bank also, you can see a top over here. Now, one thing to notice is there was a similar top on 3rd June. But the thing to notice is the top of Axis Bank of 3rd June was higher than the top of the 30th April. So basically, this is higher than this top. So this was almost 5% more. But in case of ICICI Bank, it was a flat line. And from this, again, for Axis Bank, if you see, it is up nearly 2.5%, and Axis Bank is also similarly up as well. So basically, Axis Bank looks, I mean, the strongest out of HDFC, ICICI, and Axis. Obviously, there is no point discussing about Kotak, because Kotak is a clear, laggard in case of private banks. So let's just have a look at Kotak Bank. So Kotak Mahindra Bank is actually the worst out of all these, all these three, four private sector banks. So let's have a look at the not monthly. Let's just have a look at the daily chart of Kotak Bank. So no strength whatsoever. This is not near height all-time highs. Not even trying to break all-time highs. So there is no point wasting your energy. Having a look at Kotak Bank. You can put your focus on maybe two banks. I feel Axis is much stronger than even than ICICI. And also, given the fact that there is one more thing to notice is Axis actually the smallest company out of these three. So HDFC Bank now has a market cap of almost 13 lakh crores after the merger. ICICI Bank has a market cap of around 8.5 lakh crores. Axis Bank, being the smallest, has the least P. ICICI Bank has the P of 19, HDFC Bank has the P of 20, Axis Bank has the lowest P. And another thing to notice is it has the highest profit growth and also the best quarter so far. So, quarter on quarter, this is the best quarter for this bank ever with the highest growth numbers. And also from the technical point of view, Axis Bank looks much stronger than even ICICI Bank because of this, and because I feel there is an earnings surprise of around 13% in case of Axis Bank, and the earnings surprise where is it? The earnings surprise of is of only I think around 1.65% in case of ICICI Bank. So I feel maybe Axis Bank can be the leader. And another thing to notice over here is the FII buying. I feel so. Actually, FIIs are actually accumulating Axis Bank quite a lot. So be it both FIIs and DIs, and the public holding is actually reduced the most in case of Axis Bank. And on vice versa, if you'll have a look at HDFC Bank, only retailers are buying this bank. Mostly FIIs are selling, and public is buying this quite a lot. So if you see 41 lakh unique shareholders, whereas in case of ICICI Bank is also let's say more or less neutral. So public shareholding has almost remained constant, and number of shareholders are also more or less constant. But one thing to notice, in case of Axis Bank, the number of public shareholders are actually decreasing. So this shows that maybe Axis Bank, if private banks actually start, performing, Axis Bank can actually be the leader of the private sector banks. So you can focus a lot on Axis Bank. Also, there is this earning gap over here which has never been closed, even because of this fall. So maybe it could have at least come and close this gap or retested it. And there is this myth that all gaps are closed, which is actually completely false. All gaps do not close. Some gaps remain. There are a lot of examples where the gap is still open till date and they are never going to close. So yeah, I feel Axis Bank is going to outperform the complete private Nifty Private Bank Index, which itself is going to outperform the PSU banks. So I believe if there are people who actually have positions in public sector banks, can actually look to exit, if not completely, at least partially, and reallocate that money to the private sector banks. You can completely avoid Kotak Bank. So Kotak Bank is the bank I would be avoiding completely, because it is nowhere near its 52-week high in comparison to Axis Bank, which has given a fresh all-time high, ICICI Bank, which has again given a fresh all-time high, HDFC Bank, which is trying to break out of this huge base. So once this base actually gets broken out, I feel it is going to give good returns. And all the people who actually have gone through the memes, have waited through this period, are actually finally going to get some returns. And those people who try to catch momentum can take an entry once this level is decisively broken, and there is a pullback or a good entry spot, or a mini base over here after the consolidation, can also look to accumulate HDFC Bank. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. My top focus out of these banks is definitely going to be Axis Bank. So yeah, this is going to be my pick from the private sector banks. And I had taken position in Union Bank, but I have already exited that, and I don't think so. I'm going to take any position in public sector banks as of now, because these charts are not great at all. There is no strength as compared to the private sector banks. So HDFC, ICICI Bank has given a fresh, all-time high close. And also one more thing to notice is today there was a really good move in the Nifty private banks. If you see one day, so I think private banks moved by 1.7 percentage today. And one thing to notice is HDFC Bank moved 2.33, ICICI Bank moved by around 2.38, so similar. But Axis Bank again 3.53%, so clear outperformance today as well. So yeah, I'll be keeping Axis Bank on my radar for let's say next 6 months to 1 year. I'll be making a review video of this banking sector soon. So we'll see what we had predicted and what went right or what went wrong. and maybe learn something out of it. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. I'll be posting more videos regarding this banking sector. So hopefully you can have a look for those, and hopefully we can learn together. Thank you so much. Bye.